Hi, so my presentation is on music therapy, and I'm going to be focusing on how it affects motor skills. And I chose this topic because I realized that music helps me focus a lot, so I wanted to research how music can help other people, and that's how I discovered music therapy. So the sources that I use are from the National Center for Biotechnology Information and the Journal of Music Therapy, and they are both from academic journals, and they also have a lot of citations, so it seems like they are both valid sources. So first, it's important to define what is music therapy. So music therapy is using musical elements by a professional music therapist in order to restore your physical, emotional, and mental health. And there are three main categories of music therapy, which are sensory motor rehabilitation, speech and language rehabilitation, and cognitive rehabilitation. And I'm going to be focusing on sensory motor rehabilitation, which has to do with movements. And within that, there's three different techniques. There's a therapeutic instrumental music performance, which is using different types of music and songs and instruments basically to help restore certain movements and see different patterns in movement. Rhythmic auditory stimulation, RAS, is used to restore basically for facilitating rehabilitation for biologically rhythmic movements such as gait. It's mostly used for gait, which is walking. And this is different from pattern sensory enhancement, PSE, because PSE is not for biological movements such as walking, which pretty much every human does. But it's more for certain movements that are different from person to person, such as how you move your arm, how you get dressed and sit, and different movements like that. So the music therapy affects different regions of the brain. The experiments that I found were focused on the motor cortex and cerebellum, but it also affects the corpus callosum, the sensory cortex, auditory cortex, hippocampus, nucleus accumbens and amygdala, and the visual cortex as well. So one of the experiments that I found was the RAS, Rhythmic Auditory Stimulation experiment, that basically got 105 patients who had stroke, and there were lesions in different parts of their brain depending on the patient. And they wanted to see how the RAS can help improve their gait and basically their walking ability. So they had the person walk 10 meters and measured their velocity and stride length and the gait cadence, which is basically the beat that they walk at. And then they had a professional music therapist play a metronome beat while they walked again for 10 meters, and they increased the frequency of the beat, and they found that the patient's velocity and stride length did increase from the experiment, and the results were statistically significant. So RAS did help for this experiment. And the other experiment that I found was the TIMP one, which is therapeutic instrumental music performance. And for that one, they basically had 35 different patients who had neurological disorders, and had them do a certain motion and just kind of measured the repetitions and the duration of that motion, and had them do it again, except playing music in the background while they did it. And they found from this experiment that the results were not significant, so there was no effect on the patient from this experiment. So some controversies for music therapy is that it may increase depression because it may bring back memories that are associated with depressing thoughts. People have different tastes, so it's kind of hard to tell what kind of music is going to help them, and there still needs to be a lot more research done in order to see kind of how it can help certain people.